It's Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in Kern County today in Bakersfield, and we are joined by the Sheriff of Kern County. His name is Donny Youngblood. And so I want to speak with you about crime and some surprising news as it relates to crime. During the recession, crime was on the decrease. You would have thought crime would be on the increase because people are desperate, but not this recession. Now we're out of the recession and crime is on the increase. What's happening?
Well, it's not just crime on the increase, violent crime is on the increase. Our homicide rate in Kern is up 100% over last year.
Why? What's going on, sir?
There's a lot of things going on, and it's driven by two things. Our economy in Kern is really suffering, the price of oil. And
so do you feel as if this area is still kind of in a recession?
We never came completely out of it, for sure. We did not. And the other half of that equation is across this country, some things have occurred that have given law enforcement a black eye. Right. And so we have become less effective because of some of those circumstances that have occurred.
And let's talk about law enforcement, because to my mind, after 9/11, there was such a reservoir of goodwill towards law enforcement at all levels. And for some unfortunate reason in my mind, in the wake of Ferguson or whatever incident you want to point to, that reservoir of goodwill vanished. Even though if you count all the incidents, you could probably put them on one hand, these dramatic incidents.
But the media has driven a lot of this. And
you're blaming me?
Yeah. You did get that.
I got it. No, but your point is well taken. Your point is well taken.
There's a very small percentage of the public that have the hate a cop attitude.
Right.
But they have a very loud voice. And they're given a voice because what they do is kind of spectacular and it's newsworthy. So there is a perception that law enforcement is corrupt, and we battle that all the time. Transparency, in custody deaths, that's a huge one.
Right.
Almost all of our in custody deaths, people are under the influence of methamphetamine. They fight with the officers until their heart quits, and then afterwards it appears that they were killed by the officers, and that's just, in our case, simply not true.
And it seems as if the challenge is particularly great with communities of color. And in Kern County, it's a wonderfully diverse county with many different communities. Is it an issue here? Is there tension in your mind more than there should be?
Well, there always is tension.
Internal tension.
And we haven't done the best job with some of our minority communities.
Interesting.
And so this was kind of for years we did, and then you kind of get lax, and things kind of go back to the way they were, and you kind of forget. And then when things like this occur, it wakes you up, and you say, okay, we need to get back engaged with our community that we serve. That's why we're here. And sometimes as a sheriff or a chief, you have to remind yourself why you're even here.
Right.
It's not to serve your officers, it's not to serve the union, it's to serve the public.
And when I think about Kern, one of the most significant communities of color, of course, are those that are Latino. And a lot of the Latinos living in California, I don't know if a lot's the right word, but a number will have come from countries where the relationship between law enforcement and the citizenry is particularly unfortunate.
Yes.
And so often you need the citizen. I don't mean it in a sense of...
We're only as good as they allow us to be.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But you need the person to be able to give you information. Are you able to create that relationship with the resident?
We do really well. It's kind of funny. 36% of my organization is Hispanic. We struggle with the Hispanic community getting information more than any other.
Now, is that because, in your mind, of an image issue? Is it because of deep-seated fear of law enforcement, maybe emanating from home nations?
Certainly a lot of that. We have a lot of people who are in the country illegally in our community, and they are fearful of what might happen to them, even though we've never deported anyone from our organization in 40 years. So that's not what we do.
I want to talk about immigration issues because they have been pushed to the forefront as a result of the presidential campaign.
Yes.
How is that playing out, if at all, here in Kern County?
Well, there's a huge push by some people in the public and politicians to not allow local law enforcement to work with their federal partners,
Right.
Meaning ICE.
Right.
And the problem with the illegal immigration is we don't know who's in our country, and we need to. It's not keeping people out. We need to know who is in our country.
But how do you create a relationship whereby you can talk to the undocumented? Because you need to. They have information that you may need without them fearing that if I talk to you, I'm going to be deported.
I think we probably, in this county, we have less of a problem with communicating with the undocumented because they know we don't deport. Unless you're really a bad person,
Right.
We're not going to call any ICE or if you wind up in my jail and you meet certain criteria, ICE is in the jail.
Right.
They can do what they have to do. That's their job.
Right.
We don't honor holds. We don't do any of that in Kern.
Really?
But we allow ICE agents space in the jail to do their job, and they have access to who comes and goes.
But the flip side of the argument is, if you've done something illegal, why shouldn't we talk to ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement?
And I certainly would agree with that. But the federal law is you must be convicted of 3
Right.
misdemeanors or a serious felony.
Right.
That's their job. So if you haven't done that, when you come to jail, if it's a DUI, you're kicked out back into the community.
But have you seen, as a result of the talk surrounding building a border wall or Mexicans are rapists and they're serial killers, have you seen that rhetoric cause even more fear amongst those of Latin descent, whether they're documented or not?
There may be some additional fear, but there's also there's a group of people that are undocumented that use that argument when it may not be necessarily true. It sells good. To tell the story about someone that was deported that was driving without a license. It's not true. That doesn't occur today, but it certainly sells good. But back to the point, we need to, I think we need to have a 2-year program where if you're in the country illegally, you can sign up, allow law enforcement to do a background. If you pass that background, you stay. If you don't, you're out. And if you fail to register and let us know who's here, then you're automatically deported.
I have a sense that some of your colleagues in Washington would love that proposal, whereas others would not.
Yeah.
And so I guess my question becomes then, you're on the front line. Are your friends in Washington, be it Democrats or Republicans, listening? I mean, we are in Kern County. The number 2 member of the House is from Kern County.
And to be honest with you, I have Congressman McCarthy's cell phone.
Right.
He has mine. We communicate all the time. But politics are politics.
Right.
And we don't always agree. My concern is not who's in the number of people in our country that are here illegally,
Right.
but who might be in our country. Because we're in a world of terrorism now.
And I want to ask about that because, the irony of all of what we are seeing worldwide in terms of terrorist attacks, the vast majority of those that have committed these horrific acts are homegrown.
Absolutely.
In Europe, they've taken 1 million immigrants from Syria and Iraq.
That's right.
And we don't think any of them committed Charlie Hebdo or Brussels or
If
Paris.
we watch what's happening there, that's what is going to occur here if we don't make a change and make the change sooner than later.
But how do we deal with homegrown folks? That's the problem. We can yell and scream all we want about, immigrants and refugees.
The internet has allowed this to happen. There's no question about it. But at the end of the day, if you look at every terrorist event, almost every terrorist event that is stopped by law enforcement, it's the street level policeman that stops it. He's the one that sees something, or she, or somebody tells them something. They call their federal partners, and the next thing you know, we have an arrest before the event occurs. So why wouldn't we rely on them? They're the ones that are going to stop this.
The community.
Absolutely.
Truly your partners in the community.
They are. And
everyday residents.
And if you get mad and you alienate your community, you're going to get nothing, and you're not going to be a very effective sheriff or chief of police.
His name is Donny Youngblood. He is the sheriff in Kern County, where we are today. My name is Brad Pomerance. It's Charter Local Edition.